We back, baby. Welcome back. Embrace Debate. We was out for a little bit, couple of weeks, but we're back. We're back in the house. Desmond Johnson here with you. Cody Lachney from the Carolina Chronicles and Monty Fetti from the Four-Man Rush. Every Monday live, 10:30 a.m. on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. Rate and subscribe. Pound that like button for us. Go to youtube.com/at Tobacco Road Sports Radio where you can catch this. You can catch the Cat Cave with Ryan Frick and Michael Davis each week. It's some new stuff that'll be coming on down the line here on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network, where you can find all kinds of podcasts on all of your teams in the NFL, Major League Baseball, and more. Monty, Cody, what's happening, fellas? What's going on this morning? How y'all doing?
I'm doing good, man. It feels like the calm before the storm, you know. We're getting a little bit of time off. But, man, once this training camp rolls around, man, it feels like it's about to kick into high gear, man. I'm happy to be here with y'all.
Monty, what's happening, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, fellas, I'm glad to be back. You know, like I said, I think it was a well-needed 2-week break. You know, like I said, we're just a couple of weeks out before training camp, and when training camp starts, guys, we're gonna have no shortage of things to talk about. You know, so I'm excited. So let's get to it, brother.
Yeah, we'll definitely have debates then. Of course, y'all know this is kind of the dead period right now, in between voluntary OTAs and then training camp, which will start late July. So in this dead period, we kind of doing something a little bit special. I saw some folks talking about it on YouTube that they were kind of the previous episode that we had before this one was actually an underrated episode because of what we did towards the end. And it's our Panthers Mount Rushmore. And that's the entire episode today. Guys, you can actually help us out on this debate. We are picking the top 4 Carolina Panthers to put on Mount Rushmore, but we're doing it in a unique way where it's kind of fair way to debate this. So let me explain how we're going to do this here. Each Monty and Cody each get to select one Carolina Panthers player. The three of us will debate that player versus the other. Then we'll vote. The majority will move on. Carolina Panther players can only be nominated twice in this process. Once they're nominated twice, they cannot be nominated again. Previously on Embrace Debate, we had our first slot selected. It was Cam Newton versus Steve Smith. Smitty won, which means Cam Newton can only be nominated one more time in the selection process. So I'm actually hoping they pushed him a little bit further down. I have no idea who either one of these guys was selected for today on purpose. I didn't want to know who they were, so we could kind of go into it blind a little bit. But each of them are going to select a player, and we're going to debate this year. There's going to be some hurt feelings. There's going to be some players that aren't going to get in. There's only 4 spots, so like it's gonna be painful here towards the end. If you want to help us out in the debate, you can do so. You can comment underneath the Facebook watch video here or at the YouTube video. You can comment underneath. Your comments will show up here at the bottom of the screen, and we'll be able to comment on that as we go along here live. Guys, if you're ready to rock and roll, we can go ahead and dive into this here. Who wants to throw in the first nominee for slot number 2 on the Panthers Mount Rushmore?
Well, I won last time, so I think it's Cody's.
There you go.
So
Cody's.
What a gentleman! What a gentleman! All right, man. So look, I lost the last round with Cam. I am not interested in losing today, so I'm picking number 59, Luke Kuechly, the best linebacker in the history of the Carolina Panthers. And look, shout out to Sam Mills. He implemented the culture. But there has never been a linebacker on the gridiron for the Carolina Panthers that had the full capability of Luke Kuechly, man. We're talking about just a guy that you knew was good for around 25 to 30 tackles a game, man. Nice. Flying around the football field, the commander of the defense. He was getting every defender set up before the ball snapped. You know, he would have these warfare battles with quarterbacks where they're calling audibles and then Luke is calling audibles, you know, telling TD what gap to fill. Luke Kuechly did it all, man. You know, Butkus Award winner, first round pick. And I mean, really, all of those teams that we think about fondly, like 2013, 2015, our defense, which was some of the best in the NFL in the past decade, they do not look the same without Luke August Kuechly, man. The dude was on another level. You can make the argument that every young off-ball linebacker coming up through high school and college, they're going to look at Luke Kuechly as teaching tape for the next 20 years, man, because that's how you play it at the highest level I'm not coming to lose today. Luke Kuechly is my pick, man.
I knew he was going to pop up eventually. I knew he was going to pop up early, actually. Luke Kuechly, middle linebacker. And Carolina has a really good history of middle linebackers, like going back from the beginning all the way to today. There's not really
Morgan.
A lot. Yeah, Dan Morgan, John Beeson, Sam
even
Mills,
him and Thomas Davis.
Davis. Yeah. I mean, and now I guess Shaq is the middle linebacker playing for us. So I mean, there's a history there. And shout out to the Carolina Panthers video team, social media team, for putting out that series that they started putting out. What's it called, Blackout or whatever it is. It's on YouTube on the Panthers Network. Episode 1,
the Blueprint.
The Blueprint. Yeah, Blueprint.
I watched the episode 1. I think the second episode might have already dropped. I need to watch that.
No, second one is
today.
Yeah, today is 6, and then the third one drops tomorrow.
Oh, nice. But I love the behind the scenes stuff. It's almost like I can see why teams don't want to do Hard Knocks anymore, because they can just do it themselves, kind of.
Yeah.
Themselves in their own light. So shout out to them. Go check that out on the Panthers YouTube channel. So Cody, with the Luke Kuechly pick, I am very curious as to what Monty's going to put up against this. Give us something interesting, brother. What you got here? What you cooking?
Hey, man,
if you say a certain name, we're not friends no more, bro.
Guys, you know what? Somebody beat me to the comments.
Come on, man.
That's exactly who I'm going next.
Golly,
I gotta go with the king himself.
Oh no!
I got
How
to.
dare
fellas.
you, bro?
Hey man, we can't come over here and just tiptoe around it. We gotta make it interesting. Fellas.
Wow, Monty, big joker down like right now.
Man, you want to know what really did it for me, guys? Because on Twitter I've been doing the top 10 Cam plays, and after just rewatching Cam in his prime, it's Cam. Man, it's and I'm kind of upset I didn't pick him first on the last round, just because it's like, dude, when Cam was at his peak, there weren't 10 quarterbacks better than Cam. I'm going to be first to say when he was at his peak, and I'm not even talking about just in 2015. We can go 2017. We can go before pre-injury 2018, when Cam Newton was at his prime, when he was healthy. There weren't 10 quarterbacks better than him. We're talking about record books here. There's no other player in the Carolina history in organization that's won an MVP or an Offensive Player of the Year. I don't believe Steve won Offensive Player of the Year he had the Triple Crown.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he did that either. So when we're just talking about record books, and Dez, I know you have the laundry list of record books that Cam has accomplished. So I feel like when we just look at what the totality of his career, especially just at the Panthers, it's Steve Smith number 1, Cam Newton got to be number 2, bro. And it's no shade to Luke. Luke should be a Hall of Fame linebacker, just like Cam, in my opinion, should be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I gotta go with my man's. Got to.
You're wrong, bro.
Yeah, that
was wrong.
Yeah, Cody, I love you, brother. I love you. Man.
You said no. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. No, I don't want to hear that.
Oh Lord, I don't even know how to begin this here. So, Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly. So Cam, this is it for Cam. Like, if Cam don't make it right here, he ain't getting in, which is nuts. Luke might be. Is Luke the best defensive player we've ever had?
Yeah, I think so.
No question.
I mean, you made the argument between.
Just to ease my mind.
Turn down just a little bit, bro. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah. If you were watching both of these players in their prime, and like what they meant for the offense and the defense.
But your temptation's making me stay another night.
I can't hear you, Desmond.
Cam is just like, Cam is a unicorn.
Hey, Des, turn it down some.
Oh, is the volume on?
Yeah.
There you go. Is that better?
Yeah. Much better.
Sorry. For some reason, it wouldn't come through on mine. But yeah, because Cam, between the two, Cam is more of a unicorn than Luke. I think you can find another Luke Kuechly. I don't know if you can find another Cam Newton. Like,
that's kind of wild.
I don't agree. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think both are, when you talk about unicorns, because if that's the case, we haven't found another Luke Kuechly, and is going on 4 years now. It's like Luke's been going 4. Cam came back. I don't even count the comeback year for the 6 games. Yeah, I feel like that was just PR. So so Cam's been going realistically 4 or 5 years. Luke's been going for, and we haven't realistically replaced either one. We're hoping Bryce is that replacement for Cam. We still haven't. Luke at his best was the best player in football. I mean, best defensive player in the league. He won that 2 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So it was like him at his best. Luke, there was no better defensive player in the league when he was healthy as well. It's hard to look like when you see what he does at the New Orleans and when you see what he does to Seattle in 2015. It's like, dude, how do you bet against Cam Newton? But you got a strong argument, Cody. I'm not arguing. I mean, I love you, brother.
So I mean, look at this. Listen to these accolades.
Highlights.
Yeah, right. But okay. But all right. To be fair, Desmond, you gotta throw up some Luke Kuechly highlights too now, because look, read these highlights and awards. Right, NFL Defensive Player of the Year 2013, Defensive Rookie of the Year 2012, 5-time First Team All Pro in 2013, 15, 17, and 18, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL tackle leader, the NFL 2010's All-Decade Team, 3-time Butkus Award winner in 2015, 14, and 17. I mean, it goes on and on. He won the Butkus Award in college. He has always been that dude at the linebacker position. And see, this is why Monty makes me upset, man, because I gotta argue against Cam right now. But I feel like, if you look at the past decade, and we kind of had this conversation before, there was 5 to 6 elite level quarterbacks that everybody looked at as being unicorns, best in the game. But I feel like Luke Kuechly, and yeah, some people say Bobby Wagner, but I'm not even trying to hear all that, bro. Luke Kuechly was
back in the day.
Yeah, Patrick Willis, but I think Luke Kuechly was the benchmark of what it means to be a dominant off-ball linebacker in the NFL, and that level of consistency year after year after year. Even if we have down years on the defense, Luke was always playing at just a crazy level. And I feel like there were some years where Cam, he had his ups and his downs, but then there were some years where Cam just didn't quite hit as consistent as my man Luke did. So, I mean, hey, man, this is tough. Both of these two are my favorite Panthers ever in the history of this team, man. But Luke Kuechly was a monster. Monster.
Kobe Griffin, who's watching with us, shout out, Kobe. Thanks for watching. He says, wrong, Desmond. We can't find anyone close to Kuechly if he had a full career. He's top 3 inside backer of all time. I'm saying it would be easier to find someone similar to Luke Kuechly's skill set than it is to find someone similar to Cam Newton's skill set. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's a Luke Kuechly 2.0 out there, but to find a linebacker that basically just Luke was built in the film room. You know what I mean? Like Luke understood to be able to get in the film room and understand the tendencies of a player. Anybody can go in there and do that. And if you have the drive to do it as much as Luke did, maybe you can get to that same level. You can't just magically wake up one morning and be 6'6", 200 and whatever pounds with an arm that can throw 75 yards flat-footed. That's different. That's a completely different beast. That's what I meant. That Cam is more, like you were saying at the very beginning, Monty. Cam is more like God-given gifts, like his physique, like in his peak, and the ability to process things. When he got to that peak, 2014, 15, 16 is where I kind of look at the 3 years where Cam was at his peak level. Luke, same way. It's curious for both of them, though. Both of them had fairly short careers. In terms of they both could be rated much higher across the board, across the whole league, like history-wise, if they had played at that peak level. Maybe, I don't know. In Luke's case, he probably only needed a couple more years. Really, he was borderline there when he retired. I mean, Luke only played like 7 seasons.
I think he played 8. If I'm not, because he played, I think 1 less year than Cam, or roughly about 1, because him and Cam played about the same time here in the Panthers. Cam played 9.
Played from 2012 to 2019.
Okay, so yes, 17. Yeah, 17. So and then Cam, technically he's still active, but yeah.
No, it's not.
It's kind of that. White Chocolate Espresso says Luke will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Went to the Pro Bowl every year except his rookie year.
I doubt it.
Right.
I don't know. First ballot Hall of Fame.
Hey,
again,
this is another one of those things like when we're talking about Cam. Like once you start to read off the list of accomplishments, it doesn't become as crazy as you think it does. Like neither of these dudes have a Super Bowl ring to their name, but when you look at what they were capable of doing in such a short amount of time, I mean, they might not be first ballot, but I do think that Luke Kuechly will be a Hall of Famer. I do.
And I think with Cam, because I think when you look at both, you have to also compare the defense versus the offense that they both played on, and at that time, or because I'm gonna go back to what you were talking about here earlier, Cody, when you talk about the prototypical linebacker and what teams build off of, and he will be the staple for that for that position.
Right.
That is Cam Newton by definition, in my opinion. Especially when we're talking about quarterbacks in today's era. We can list off a laundry list of quarterbacks that directly, that say, "Hey, well, Cam Newton was a big part of the reason how I played my like for Jalen Hurts." We can say Jalen Hurts, Kyler
Anthony
Murray,
Richardson.
Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson. There's just a laundry list of quarterbacks that that literally grew up watching Cam Newton and mirrored their game after Cam Newton. So
Josh Allen. Yeah.
Josh Allen, exactly, absolutely. So I feel like the list doesn't end from there. So if we're just talking about impact of the game, I feel like Cam, kind of has the kind of the more impact on that position at quarterback than what Luke would have at linebacker. And then again, that's no shade at Luke at all. I just think that's just how. Hey man, Luke was a freak, dude.
Hey, he was an animal, bro.
Hey, and I'm even going to make it hard for my own argument, because when we talk about just athletic God-given gifts, bro, like Luke was a
right.
You hear Greg Olsen say, like, dude, you see how fast this white guy runs?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like when we're just talking about pure athleticism, Luke, it's hard to say there were 5 better athletes on the field. When Luke was healthy, there weren't any better defensive player on the field, in my opinion. And I feel like that
diabolical,
he was
like
dominant, man.
Yeah, he's on every single. Even if he's not making the tackle, he's around every single play.
Morning. And I noticed that his last year. I remember his last year playing. Me starting to think he might go, because there were times where it felt like either he was getting slower than he wanted to, or somebody was supposed to be there and they weren't, and he got there at the end, and you could see the frustration. He put his arms up, like, man, what are we doing? At that point, I was like, okay, he might be thinking about it. And I've always said, if an athlete's thinking about retirement, they're pretty much retired.
He probably should. Yeah.
And dude, I remember that 2013 season. I didn't mean to cut you off, Cody. I just remember that 2013 season, and I remember saying every single game, dude, Luke is everywhere. Everywhere, wherever the ball is at, Luke is there. And to your point, Des, from 2013 to 2018, you see the difference. It's like you can see that he's just a step slower than where he used to be. He's almost there making the play versus making the play, and it was hard to see, because it's hard to not like Luke Kuechly. I've never met a person that didn't absolutely love Luke Kuechly, and for the most part for Cam, I feel that's the same way as well. But Luke was a freak, bro. This is a good argument, definitely a good argument.
Yeah. And by the way, I have to Justin Long in the chat said Luke struggled his entire career in coverage. False as can be. One of the best coverage. One of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. Go back to that Cowboys game in 2015 where he picked off Tony Romo 2 times.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, because I thought Luke was one of the better coverage linebackers.
Yeah, 100%.
The real knock was he just didn't press. He just didn't rush the quarterback enough. That was if you were going to nitpick his game, he just didn't. When you look at his sack numbers, he just didn't have the sack numbers that you were looking for. But everything else, it's like.
It was also more beneficial that way, because from 2013, 14, and 15, we were getting home with just a 4-man rush. So we weren't really even we weren't dependent on blitzing linebackers. So for example, Frankie Louvu last season had 5 sacks, and most of that just came from pressures and blitzes. So you mentioned the athleticism of Luke. Luke is like a perfect storm when elite level athleticism meets elite level preparedness and training and mastering your craft, and really just knowing that football is a mental game more than it is even a physical game, as crazy as that might sound. And Luke Kuechly was in all of those areas, just elite on every single level. If we're talking about memories, I'm going back to that 2013 game in the rain against New Orleans. He broke the Panthers tackle record that day. And it was just incredible, man. Like watching him play was to watch a linebacker take over the game. And that was kind of rare. You didn't really see the off-ball inside linebackers just completely taking over a game.
Yeah, I agree. The 2015 season. See, that's the peak for both of them, really. Panthers Pickle C3 says, I just watched.
Our stream went down, Desmond. You're going to have to take the video off.
The screen went down?
Yeah, so it's all black right now. It'll come back up in just a second.
Oh.
At least on my end. Yeah, once you play too long of like copyrighted video, it'll pull your stream, but it'll come back up.
Okay. So we'll sit tight for just a sec here. Yeah, I just got the notification on my phone. I'm like, what are they talking? I'm not playing anything. I thought they were talking like music or something, but
yeah, everybody's in the chat saying that. I'll tell them we'll be back up in just a second.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. How do you know when it's back? I've never had that actually happen before. Hold on.
Yeah, I have. I have the stream up, and normally what it would do is it goes black for a second, and then after you take down the stuff, it'll come back up.
Okay.
Normally, I'm hoping it didn't.
It's still.
Yeah, those clips, man. They'll get you every time.
I don't know if it's gonna come back. Well,
it normally would. It normally would. I hope it does. Let me hit the refresh.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't show nothing on my end, so I thought we were still.
It's still showing us live on
yeah, it's still showing us live and everything on my end.
It's. I might have to reset it. I didn't want to do that though, because we never actually chose. This was going to be a hard one to edit too.
Yeah, we just got to be careful with them copyright videos from now on, though.
I was literally about to flip it off too. It's nuts. It was just running in the background. Man.
Yeah, we've dealt with this on C3 for a while. All right, no, it says we're back. Let me see.
Hold on. It said we see y'all. Yeah, the comment said we see y'all.
There we go. Okay.
I think there we go. All right, we're back.
Lesson learned there in terms of the clips on YouTube. My bad, guys. I normally don't run a clip that long on YouTube, but it was just running in the background while we were debating. Shout out to everybody that stuck around during that session. I'll have to go and edit that out when we put this back up again. So Luke, Cam, everybody that's still in here checking this out, I'm trying to figure out a way to differentiate between the two of them because someone had mentioned earlier if Luke Kuechly was a free agent today, he would get signed like in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Can't say that about Cam.
I think that's debatable. And the reason for me saying that is been 2 years since he's played like a snapping in the league. And beforehand, he was having concussion problems. I wouldn't think he would. I mean, now mind you, a team would pick him up. Make no mistake about it. I don't think he wouldn't get signed. I just think he wouldn't be the hot topic that everybody's talking about. He's not the 2014, 2015, 2016 Luke Kuechly, and I think that's the reality of it. And I am one that believes that once you take years off of taking once you go a couple years off of from receiving that punishment and giving that punishment, your body gets adjusted to not having to go through that again. So then having to re-put, I just don't think it would be the praise that everybody thinks it would. But Luke Kuechly would still be a sign. That's my opinion.
If you take the 2015 season, because both the offense and defense were playing at a peak level during that year. And I think it's a consensus that's the best year the Panthers have had in franchise history. Which side would you say was more on point? Because the offense was the number one ranked offense that season, but they were getting a lot of short fields because of the defense. The defense was causing, I think they were number one in turnovers that year or something like that.
But then there was a whole bunch of games And
blue.
this is arguing against my point technically. Yeah, this is arguing against my point technically. But there were a lot of games also where the Seahawks, the Saints, the Giants, where the Cardiac Cats,
the Colts,
ended up, the Colts, where we let go of a big lead, and then Cam had to do his thing. Look, there's no wrong answer to this question, man. I'm just, I don't know, man. Both of these dudes are the reason I love the Carolina Panthers. So this is like, you're dirty for this, Monty. You're dirty.
Hey, Cody, you my dog, man. Hey, reason is Cam for me, especially if we're looking at the 2015 season. I think when you look at the makeup of that offense versus the makeup of that defense, there was 5 Pro Bowlers on that defense, 2 All-Pro players on that defense, 3 All-Pro. No, because K'Wan Short didn't make the All-Pro list, or I think he either made the second team. I'm not sure. I had to double check.
That sounds right. Yeah,
but it was K'Wan Short, Josh Norman, Thomas Davis, Luke, and I'm missing somebody else on that defense. There was at least 4 to 5 players, I believe, that was Pro Bowl players on that defense that year. Other than Cam Newton, I believe Jonathan Stewart finished top 10 in rushing that year. But and of course you have Greg Olsen. But other than Greg Olsen and Cam Newton, bro, that offense should had no business in my opinion in the Super Bowl.
Jericho Cotchery.
When you're talking about Jericho Cotchery, exactly. Jericho Cotchery, Philly Brown, rookie Devin Funches.
Oh man.
Demir Bird, I believe, or Ted Ginn. It's when you
Kevin
look at
Benjamin was hurt. Yeah.
Right. When you look at that makeup of we had Cameron Artis-Payne was our number 2 running back that year.
Man,
exactly. It's like they had no business in the Super Bowl whatsoever. And then when you just go back and actually look at that season, you could whether highlights or just actually look at the games, bro. There were games where, like Cody said, the Colts game, Cam is carrying us to a win. The Giants game, Cam is carrying us to a win. And then when he gets in the playoffs, bro, he blows the doors off the top 5 defense. I believe the number 1 or the number 2 scoring defense in Arizona. It's hard to bet against that, and I know how dominant Luke was, and you could say the consistency there, but I also will argue there was no consistency on the offense. There wasn't as much consistency on that offense as a whole versus the defense, where Ron Rivera was a defensive he was a defensive coach. His objective was to build that defense, and we all argue every year, no matter if you like Cam Newton or not, that they didn't do enough to build around that offense to support Cam Newton. And I make that, and I'll stand strong on that. It was like, if you put the offense or the offensive coach that we have now with Cam Newton coming out, bro, I give it 3 years we competing for a Super Bowl. So I just.
Yeah. And can I just say something real quick? It's kind of off topic, but now that we have Bryce Young, like I know on C3 now, there's this like tendency of fans to want to compare Bryce to Cam, and now like there are Bryce fans saying, "Oh, if Bryce gets out to a hot start, then he's already the best quarterback." Like, bro, they're both our quarterbacks. Right. We don't have to do this revisionist history going back to trash Cam. To big up Bryce. Like, it's corny. It's corny.
I see it all the time in the Jordan LeBron debates where it's like, for some reason, you're not allowed to love both. Like, you have to pick like one or the other.
Right.
I'm 45. I'm old enough where I watched the entirety of Jordan's career. I watched the entirety of LeBron's career. It's okay for me to be like, this one's better than the other one. It doesn't mean the other one sucks. It just means the other one, I've seen greatness. Like, and this isn't the same thing as what I've seen as greatness before. I don't know, but today's society, man, that's what it is, where it's like, if you pick a side, everything else has to be garbage. Like, it can't be on the level of it. So I don't know. It's a weird dynamic.
All those things that Monty just said about Cam is true. Like, even if Bryce balls out, you go back, it doesn't mean that Cam had elite receivers, elite offensive line play. He was having to do with what he had. So
shout out to my girl Kieran Choi from Facebook, says Cam carried that whole Falcons defense too. That was 2015. That play where he carried like 8 dudes.
That's like my favorite play of all time.
Kept going like and stretching out. If I have to choose between these two, when we're getting down to the point where we need to pick these guys, if I had to choose between these two, I guess I'm using who could the team win without? and then the answer is the other player. You know what I mean? Like, could the Panthers still win a game without Luke Kuechly? Like in those sessions? Yeah, and I think they had to a couple of times because he was out with concussions and things of that sort. Could the team win without Cam? Because the team is built around him. Like even the defense, the way they played was built to get the ball back to them to run the ball. And if Cam is hurt, those are some struggle.
I also just don't think that any of those defenses for Carolina would be even a 10th as good as they were if it wasn't for Luke Kuechly making everything run like it did.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, they kind of yin and yang. They go together. I mean,
yeah,
it's because like you could say Cam wouldn't have been as great as he was if he didn't have the defense that he had. Knowing that, I could play a little looser, knowing my defense is going to get it back for me or whatever. And the defense probably wouldn't have been as good if they didn't have this dominant run game led by Cam Newton and my boy Jay Stu and Mike Tolbert. White Chocolate Espresso says Cam, Stewart, Olsen, Khalil, Trey Turner, Mike Tolbert, Luke, Thomas Davis, Josh Norman, KK Short all made the Pro Bowl in 2015. Boy, those are the days, wasn't it? Like, that's half the team. Half the team in the Pro Bowl. Like,
I just put up a poll on the C3 channel. If anybody would like to chime in with their voice, Cam Newton or Luke Kuechly.
Yeah, guys, if you're watching, go ahead and start putting in your votes in the comments here. Just type in either Cam or Luke. We'll start trying to figure this out. Kieran said Derek Anderson wasn't going to put up 30 in my opinion. And
hey, right. And I was going to say that just to go back to your point, Des, and we're going to talk about just winning. The last time we've won 7 or more games was I believe 2018 was when Cam was our starter. Yeah. That's the last time we won 7 or more games, and since 2018 we've won at 5 or. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me not say that because we just won 6 games this year. So I can't make that statement with
7. Then we finished 7.
We're 7. I'm sorry. We just won 7 after dumping Matt Rule. So let me recant that statement because I was going to say, well, we're talking about winning. We really haven't won that many games without Cam being under center. We're going to be honest.
Look at the quarterback position since we released him. I mean, we've
like 7 quarterbacks in like 5 years.
Now, granted, some of that was the ineptitude of Matt Rule. Some of that could have been avoided probably, but we haven't had any consistency at that position since then. Whereas with Luke, Shaq kind of just slid right in. Now, I'm not saying Shaq Thompson is anywhere close to the player that Luke Kuechly was, but the drop off wasn't as severe as it was at our quarterback position in terms of play, right? Like, I mean, I'm okay with Shaq being the middle linebacker. I was not okay with name a guy from 2018 on, like from Kyle Allen to whoever, Baker Mayfield. But
we're also kind of like splitting hairs because, like what Monty said earlier, like, look, hey, big up to Shaq, but he's not Luke. We have not replaced that position ever since Luke Kuechly retired. Like. That's when you really don't realize what you've got until it's gone. Everything that he did for us, man, we've been through Tahir Whitehead, but we've been through a bunch of different yokels, man. And it's like none of them have ever even been able to come close to what Luke has been able to do.
Yeah, but I think Shaq kind of softens that blow a little, versus, he softens that blow of losing Luke versus we've lost Cam and like they said, we've had the musical chairs at quarterback ever since, and to the point where we had to bring Cam back and still, a shell of himself, Cam.
That was the greatest game of that entire season. Like,
oh, dude, and I hate it. We lost, man, and it hurt so bad. We lost. I was there and ended up getting sick as a dog the next day, bro. I was there that game, man, and I was so pissed we lost, bro. I was talking junk to every Washington fan I could see.
Yeah,
again.
I had 2 friends that went, and one of them was a huge Redskins fan. The other one's an Eagles fan, and they went down there to go watch it. And they hate Cam Newton, but they were like, when Cam Newton came out that tunnel, that was the loudest they'd ever heard a stadium.
The stadium was shaking, bro. It was probably the wildest time. I've been to quite a few different games at the Panther Stadium. Yeah, probably one of the best times I've ever been, bro. It was from the atmosphere from the time you walked in. Everybody had their camp because that was the hat game. Everybody had their hat. bro, it was so dope, man. And I just hate we couldn't close that game out. It would have that's all I would have needed. If he never won another game in
that'd been
Panther
perfect.
history, that would have been what I needed. I would have just to seal it out, like go ahead get the win against Washington. But either way,
oh gosh, well here's my thing here, and then we got to go ahead and get these votes in. Justin Long comes up with the best point I've seen so far in the comments section. Cam literally changed the position.
Yeah,
he changed the position of quarterback. Where the name the top quarterbacks in the league right now. Who would you say is top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now?
Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. I say I'm a Josh Allen fan. I think people.
Yeah, me too.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
I think Justin Herbert is too.
I'd put Jalen Hurts in the top 5.
Jalen Hurts. I put Jalen Hurts top 4. I can't put Justin Herbert top 5.
Not
bro.
top 5, not yet.
Yeah, I just can't, bro.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. But the point being,
I'd rather have Herbert than Rodgers at this point.
I'd probably take Herbert over Rodgers.
Out of those 5, 3 of those quarterbacks are heavily influenced by Cam Newton. Growing up watching Cam Newton, I think
we're being disrespectful. I'm sorry, Des. We forgot Lamar Jackson. There we go.
I put Lamar in there, definitely. And we've seen these guys say, hey, in 2011, I was in the 10th grade or whatever, like watching Cam Newton, like get drafted by the Panthers. Like I molded my game around Cam Newton and the way he played, the way he was the first. I think he might be the first. I'm trying to think. Cam might be the first guy, the first African-American quarterback that I could think of where kids of all colors wanted to be like him, after a certain point. Because of course we had Warren Moon and Doug Williams and got all these greats, but Cam is the first one that kind of made the position where it was like it's okay to run, it's okay to have a strong,
and not even just the play style, but him just being a big kid on the football field.
Personality.
Like nobody was having more fun than Cam Newton. It was infectious, so it's like that also added to it. That it's like, hey man, you're playing a game for a living. Don't forget that. Yeah, it's big business, big money, but you get to play a game for a living. And I felt like Cam knew that. Man, look at me arguing on behalf of Monty, man.
Vic was big too. Yes, Mike Vick was big too, but of course that's not exactly. Vic had some flaws like in his game. Yeah. Cam did too, but not as many. Like Cam was
I hate the Vic versus Cam. I mean, the Vic versus Cam argument is kind of a wasted argument because when you just look at Vic was a dynamic runner, but what we're just talking about the totality of them being a runner. Cam was a better red zone option than Vic. He was a better better short yardage. That's the thing I feel like that separates Cam than most of these quarterbacks. Because Cam might not have had the long distance runs or the 70-yard runs downfield, but it's like he has 40, 50-yard big runs, house calls. He can run over you. He can literally jump, run over you, jump over you, can make you, can make you miss an open field. But when it comes down to that red zone, bro, that's a form of offense. It was almost at one point where you could 100% bank when we get to the red zone. Cam Newton, if we're even at 4th and 1, 4th and 3, Cam Newton is going to be able to pick it up or either get us in the end zone to score. So it's like, dude, he's 6'6", 250. Like, dude, all he has to do is fall forward, and he's picking it up. And I feel like that's a form of offense that a lot of quarterbacks just physically can't run. They can't take that abuse, and Cam Newton did it for almost a decade. So now it's just.
Here's another thing too that separates Cam from Luke for me. When you start talking about the intangibles, because we were saying before, what makes a player on this Mount Rushmore? It's not just his stats. It's not just the records they had. It's not just their playing ability. It's what they meant to the franchise. And to me, Cam made the Panthers national. We weren't getting national television games until Cam Newton was here. I don't know
if he's the biggest superstar that the Panthers have ever had.
I'll say in Charlotte sports history. I mean, if we're going to be honest, in the city of Charlotte, there's no bigger athlete than Cam Newton. Maybe other than Steve Smith. Maybe other than Steve Smith.
Smitty. I was going to say maybe Larry Johnson, like early 90s. Like if you were around when the Hornets had LJ and Zoe and Muggsy and those guys.
Even at the peak of the Hornets, do you think and that's what I was arguing the other day on Twitter. Even at the peak of the Hornets, they were never as big as 2015 Carolina.
No.
On a national scale. No, you're right.
This is also why last time we did this when we were debating Cam versus Steve. That was my main argument. That Steve, for as incredible as a receiver as he was, Cam being the quarterback and inspiring people and, rewriting the game of what it means to play that position. And the fact that him and Marshawn Lynch were the most dominant red zone threats in the NFL for a decade that they played ball.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Cam too. There's another thing with Cam that always made me laugh. Cam Newton is the only football player I can ever think of that would have people talking about what he wore at the podium on Sunday on Wednesday. Yeah. Like I was going through this every single week where I'd have to hop into a thread or something where people are either clowning or defending whatever he wore to the post-game podium press conference 4 days later. Like after it, like that happened Sunday night. It's Wednesday afternoon. I'm going through Twitter and I'm seeing people still talking about the hat that he wore or the overalls or the pajamas or whatever it was he wore that day. And I'm just like, these are grown men. These are grown men sitting there debating what this dude is wearing from 4 days ago.
But that's
talking about the Panthers and the Falcons next week.
That's what made Cam so iconic for me because that's the thing. When you look at the NBA, that's been the NBA's thing. Ever since Allen Iverson, they had where they let players wear pretty much whatever they want to express themselves. The NFL has never been that tight. The NFL has been right. So machine like, so dry cut, and then exactly, and then here comes Cam Newton that's wearing yellow cheetah stripe pants, to the Super Bowl,
looking like your auntie showing up at a PTA meeting.
Yeah, it's like, and no matter whether you liked it or not, it's like, dude, Cam Newton on a national level had people talking about the Carolina Panthers that never talked. For instance, bro, Betty White was on film dabbing during the Super Bowl.
I was gonna say the dab. You brought the dab into play. Like old people were doing the dab for like a year. That's all Cam.
It's like
Cam popularized the dab way more than the Migos ever did.
Migos did. I was going to say that. I was going to say that. The Migos hold that record to Cam Newton. The Migos.
But hey, I'm arguing on behalf of Luke. Let me just say this though before we end it out, bro. I miss so badly the chills that you would get when Luke Kuechly would make a tackle.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, if they were at home or not at home, Luke. Everyone and their mama. Man, I miss those days, man. Damn it, bro.
We gotta vote. I feel like I got an idea of where it is. Nobody followed directions in the comments. Everyone's still just kind of talking. Nobody put in their votes at all. I'm sort of scrolling.
At one point, it leaned Luke, though. When we first were starting, before we had the little technical issues, it was Luke at one point because there was a lot of.
It's shifting a little bit. Cam had national commercial. Like I said, Cam put the Panthers on the map, even briefly, as a national brand. Right. Like. I got to the point like I remember when they played the Patriots primetime when Cam had that crazy run, like 40-yard run where he was like ducking and dodging people all over
the place. The whole team miss.
Yeah, like some people got 2 chances at him. Like and the announcers were just like dumbstruck. Like what is this? What are we watching?
Yeah,
like
the poll, like that, man. The poll that I put up on C3 right now has Cam Newton at 60% and Luke Kuechly at 40%.
Let's go ahead and vote this out. Cody, you go first. Who? You nominated. You nominated. I assume you're going to vote for him.
You shouldn't assume, Daniel. You just shouldn't assume.
And that's the beauty of this process. You can bring a guy in.
You know what they say about assuming. It makes out of you and me. You know what I'm saying? Look, man. Monty did me dirty today by picking my literal favorite football player in history. You're still wrong for that, Monty. I don't know if I'll ever forgive you.
I love you, brother. It's love. It is love.
Boom.
But also, since the fact that if Cam were to lose today, he couldn't even be on the mountain.
Bro, hey Cody, I'll be honest, brother. That was part reason why I had to pick him. Like
I know.
I couldn't let we couldn't not have my Cam on there. We could not have number 1 on there. Bro. You gotta have him on there.
Yeah. So now this puts Luke in that position in that hot seat because it sounds like we're all going Cam. Is that where we're going? So Cam takes slot number 2 on the Panthers Mount Rushmore. So right now you got Steve Smith Jr. Who's slot number 1. Cam Newton is number 2. Luke Kuechly now is in that position where if he's voted or nominated a second time, he might be possibly eliminated from these discussions. So it's going to start getting interesting. We haven't had any debates two defensive guys yet. So I'm wondering when that's going to pop up. There's a couple of names. I'm curious too, because I'm older than both you guys are, I'm pretty sure. And I'm wondering if we're going to get into like the old school Panthers, like the beginning, like 95, 96, like 97. Those got the Sam Mills, you know what I mean? Like the guys from back, Wesley Walls, like guys from back in the day back then. Or is there going to be kind of a cutoff where it's like 2003 kind of onward for this thing? Because
if we're talking about culture, you have to mention Sam Mills.
Right.
But I think there are more football players.
Yeah.
That if we're just talking about what they did on the field, I think
kind of
there
my
are.
argument.
Yeah, there's going to be some players that are probably going to deserve to be up there. Like I like Peppers, obviously that's the name that comes to mind. Right. If we're talking about that era of Panther football.
Yeah. And Sam it might turn out that Sam isn't on the Mount Rushmore because he's kind of on a different level than the rest of them, because all of this is kind of possible for, like, keep pounding comes from him. Like they still say that to this day. Like it's the mantra. And another thing too, I noticed watching Blueprint, definitely go check that out. The Carolina Panthers behind the scenes thing that's on Panthers.com, and I believe it's on their YouTube channel. The fact that they've made such a concentrated point to reach back in the past, like I was reading an article where Frank Wright and others, they've invited former players to come into these OTAs and to be around, so they're there. So it's like, and I never understood why they didn't do this before. Like I never understood why like Matt Rule never did this really, but like Thomas Davis has been there, Stu has been there, Smitty's been there with the rookie receivers. I mean, they've had guys coming in and out, just like talking to the guys and just being brought back into the franchise. And like they're kind of building this, like I always heard that Dave Tepper admired the Steelers and the way they had been built, and that he wanted to build the Panthers in the same way. The Steelers are the way they are is because they embrace their history. Like they know that they have all-time greats. They have Hall of Famers. They come back. They aren't shunned or pushed away. And for these guys, and maybe in the season we do a Ring of Honor segment, because some of these guys aren't in the Ring of Honor that probably need to be. And that's more than 4 slots. So that's where some of these will probably end up landing. But this is the cream of the crop, top 4. Steve Smith and now Cam Newton has made it. There's 2 slots left. I have no idea what's going to happen after this in terms of who's going to get in. Guys, any final words before we get out of here? We'll be back next Monday with a new episode. Any final words for this week?
Yeah, man, keep pounding. We're gonna look out for these blueprints. Monty's still wrong for making me go against Cam Newton today. I'll never forgive him. Next week, hey, I won't even spoil it. I'm picking Luke next week.
Oh no! I'm gonna have to like institute a rule or something. They gotta space out a week or something.
Come on, man!
It's just gonna make it predictable. Nobody's gonna want to have Luke off the raft. Like we got.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Up a little bit.
I promise I won't pick Luke next week. How about that? I promise I'll go somewhere.
Yeah, bro. Don't do it again.
Let's do some defense. Let's get some defensive guys.
Yeah, let's do defensive guys next week. That's fine. I can do that.
Or Desmond, you can even pick what player we argue on behalf of. I'm down for that too.
I might start throwing wild cards in there where you guys pick one each, and then I throw a wild card player in there just so we can get to enough of a group of players to debate on. So that might be an option too, because there's a couple in my head where I'm like, that guy should at least get talked about or be in the consideration, in the debate. So we might do it that way going forward next week. Shout out to everybody that stopped by. Sorry about the copyright restriction stream mess up. YouTube, our bad. We'll do better. We promise. So you don't have to worry about that going forward. You can hear the audio version of this on the Keep Pounding podcast network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. On any major podcast outlet. It'll be out a little bit later on today. You can watch the video of this and previous episodes on the Tobacco Road YouTube channel at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Go follow everybody's stuff. Like I said, Monty's with the 4-Man Rush. You can follow their stuff there. Cody is with the Carolina Chronicles. They're always putting out great content each week. And Cody, if I'm not mistaken, you host the free-for-all on Fridays, right?
Yeah, every Friday at 7 p.m., man. Come through. That's for anybody and everybody. If you want to come in,
yeah,
talk
you can
Panthers
actually
football.
Part of the show. Yeah, they'll actually
absolutely.
So definitely check them out. So for Monty, for Cody, I'm Des. We'll talk to you next Monday, 10:30 a.m. live. Embrace debate.
Keep pounding.